I'm Dr. David Maloney, and I'm here at the SOHO meeting, and I was here talking about the emerging technology of CAR T-cell therapy for lymphoma. So in the session that I was at, we discussed the emerging technologies of CD19 specific CAR T-cells for patients with relapsed refractory lymphoma. And we now have two commercial agents that are approved for this treatment already, and that's tisagenlecleucel and axicabtagene-ciloleucel, and we have a third one, lisocabtagene-maraleucel, that's in late-stage clinical development and hopefully will be approved by the FDA in the United States by at least the middle of next year. So we're really pretty fortunate in this setting to have pretty soon to have three different agents available. These agents have really shown very convincing, at least at the 2-year time mark, long-term outcomes in patients with relapsed refractory lymphoma. And this is being done in a patient population where the expected median survival was around 6 months. So patients with relapsed refractory lymphoma, large cell lymphoma, who've already failed 2 or 3 prior regimens have very poor outcomes. And a study called SCHOLAR-1 showed that their chances of long-term outcome from any therapy was very low, and the median survival was around 6 months, and their chance of actually having a remission, complete remission from therapy, was in the 7 to 8% range. So contrast that now with our CAR T-cell experience, which all 3 products have been tested in that same population, and they've shown response rates in these 50 to 80% range. And the longest follow-up we have so far is with axicabtagene-ciloleucel, or Yescarta, where the median survival has not even been reached yet at over 2 years, which is strikingly better than what would be expected from the, just the control population in this setting. Now, these are not randomized trials; they're all phase 2 trials, but the results were sufficient enough to get the FDA approval. So I think right now, axicabtagene-ciloleucel or tisagenlecleucel is standard of care treatment for patients beyond second relapse, especially if they can't get to high-dose therapy and autologous stem cell transplant. Now, that said, there's a lot of room for improvement. Even best case scenario, we're still talking 40 to 50% survival out at 2 years. And this is a very complicated treatment. Patients, it requires about a 2-month or 60-day stay at a treatment center. You're not in the hospital during that period of time most of the time, but you may be hospitalized for 1 to 2 weeks, and can be significant toxicities associated with it. The 2 main toxicities we see are something called cytokine release syndrome, and this is due to the proliferation of the CAR T cells and production of cytokines, and those cytokines then can cause a very severe flu-like illness, which can lead to other organ failure, and is usually treatable and usually fully recoverable. The second toxicity is a little more vexing, especially to patients, in that patients can develop a brain toxicity or a neurologic toxicity where they have problems finding words, they can stop talking, they can actually progress into a coma or even have seizures. And in very rare cases, this can also be fatal. Fortunately, most of the time, patients 100% recover. But because of this, it is a complicated treatment. It has to be done in specialized centers, and these centers are all across the United States and are being developed across the world as these new agents are becoming approved in other countries. So I think it's a fascinating field. We're really moving these treatments forward. Right now, they're approved in the 3rd line, but there's already ongoing clinical trials that are challenging the role of high-dose therapy and autologous stem cell transplant in 2nd line, and I suspect that those 3 trials will be read out in the next 1 to 4 years, and I'm hopeful that they will actually show that this new technology is even better than the standard, which was transplant in 2nd line.